Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Surprise, surprise, we've got even more leaks for the Warzone Season 3 / the Warzone Verdansk update. It's been a crazy couple of days here. It seems like almost every single day this week, we've gained a little bit of details about the Verdansk update here and there. And with these new updates and this new info that we've got, it seems like Warzone 1 gameplay is being closer and closer to being recreated, at least to a certain extent, right? So this initial information is stemming from the Ghost of Hope, a leaker and an insider that we've talked about several times here on the channel, has established a very credible track record. And he posted a series of tweets here. With this one, you guys can already see, which I'm sure is getting some excitement going, in regards to some potential changes that he's heard about for Verdansk. And the first one here, he simply just says, it's back. It's the Michael Jordan memo, right? I'm back. And he includes an image of, well, either the MP7. Imagine that's what this was about. No, it's floating loot, obviously, where loot is not just jumbled onto the ground. This is something that obviously we have not had in Warzone since we had Warzone 1 in Caldera. That was the last time there was floating loot in game. With Warzone 2 in Modern Warfare 2022, they changed loot to be sitting on the ground, which at first was just disastrous because the loot would constantly pile on top of everything. You couldn't individually select things well, and that was still a problem with floating loot for sure, right? There were situations where you try to pick up that vest and you'd end up picking up the box or the ammo and it'd be kind of awkward and clunky. However, floating loot has not happened on the current engine, where things have been changed a little bit to have loot separate out a little bit more. It is still obviously right now ground loot. However, it's spread out a bit more, so it should be a little bit easier to interact with. But we've said for some time, if it was simply floating loot and it was more spaced out and built to be like that, then it'd be just the best of both worlds, right? So this would definitely be a very welcome change. You know, floating loot coming back, definitely recreating that sort of feel of gameplay a little bit more. It's a small thing, all things considered. You know, when you look at gameplay, you're talking weapons, map, lighting, movements, all sorts of stuff like that. The way you interact with loot seems small, but obviously it plays a pretty big part in gameplay when it comes down to it. So definitely something I am very excited to see if it comes to fruition, because I think this is going to be a big W of a change. Next up, Hope posts another pretty interesting feature that we had back in Warzone 1 potentially returning. He says there is currently plans for red doors to return on Verdansk in a future Warzone season. So this could be Season 3 Reloaded, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, who knows? But it does line up with the sort of idea that if they're starting in an OG version of Verdansk, where train station is closed off, the roof of the stadium is closed, but the interior is open, that perhaps over time we're going to see some of those older updates that we saw on Verdansk back in the day, whether it be red doors or Halloween or opening up the train station or changing different POIs, that we'll see those slowly added in over time. The red doors in specific obviously lines up well with a Black Ops era Warzone, like what we're in now, of course, because the red doors are a Black Ops storyline and a lower piece. Obviously back in Warzone 1, these were used as either drop-in devices. Essentially, you'd walk through the door and spawn you in the sky, you could float around, or as teleportation stuff essentially, so you could rotate out quicker because of these. Definitely a fun little mechanic that does spice up gameplay a little bit more in a bit more of an RNG or a bit more of a random way, since they don't always spawn. And it does obviously pose for some interesting fights. If you're in an area where a red door spawns, you know, you could be fighting but then realize, oh, you're low health, you got to dip, jump in the red door, spits you out elsewhere, and then the fight completely changes, you know, unless that other player has to follow you real quick before the door closes and whatnot. Really cool mechanic back in the day that was definitely you know, a fun one while it was live in game. So it does appear that that could be coming back, and like I said, I feel like this adds even more to the idea that we're going to see a lot of the updates that we saw to Verdansk over time back then sort of replayed out, for better or worse, now once Verdansk does come back here with Season 3. And obviously, as we get closer and closer to the launch and to the release of Verdansk here, we're going to start to see more official info drop. It won't just be these leaks and these rumors. We'll start to see marketing from COD in the form of teaser trailers, images, blog posts, roadmaps, and we'll get even greater detail on the return of Verdansk and everything else coming with Season 3. So if you want to stay in the loop for all of that alongside everything else going on in COD, simply hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and if you enjoy this video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated as well. Next up here, shifting a little bit away from Verdansk, but still in the general topic of it, we got some pretty surprising news. So Hope does say, take this with a grain of salt. This is just whispers as of right now, you know, it's just a rumor for now, but Avalon may potentially be postponed from its original late 2025 release or completely canned for Warzone because of Verdansk's return. This is something that's had me scratching my head since we saw the Warzone integration this year. They kept Urzikstan. Urzikstan means nothing to the current story and overall arc with Call of Duty and Black Ops 6. It's just simply there as its reverted form back from essentially the day it launched in Modern Warfare 3 Warzone. We didn't get any of the quality of life updates essentially on the map that we had throughout the past year going through the MW3 seasons. Meanwhile, Avalon is sitting in the game files. It's sitting in the game right now actually, because several of these maps, like Stakeout for instance, you can go into theater mode, free cam it, and explore the entire map as we've done so before. Avalon is quite literally in the game. It really is very strange that it didn't launch as the Warzone Battle Royale map this year when this is a Battle Royale map relevant to the story in the premium game for this year. Instead, all the leaks and rumors have been saying that Avalon was going to launch with COD 2025, Black Ops 7 later this year, presumably in like November or December with that Warzone integration. Still would be weird considering this current game is where Avalon is a big deal. I would assume the Black Ops 7 storyline will tie to it, but it's just an awkward scenario, right? But potentially being pushed back or completely canned is wild given the assets that we have for this map already and the work that's been put in for this map already. But Hope does clarify a little bit more here by saying, I say canned for Warzone because it's supposedly the Outbreak map for Black Ops 7 Zombies from my understanding. So we could essentially be in a scenario where in-game we've got all the standard multiplayer stuff for Black Ops 7, the usual stuff, maps for 6v6, maybe ground war, who knows, 2v2, whatever else. Then we've got Warzone, which has Verdansk and Rebirth and whatever else, right? Then we have Zombies, which has its own individual round-based maps, and then an Outbreak / Modern Warfare Zombies DMZ-esque style mode, whatever the case is, that's played on Avalon instead. I mean, it would still make sense for the Zombies lore here to potentially be playing in Avalon as the larger map here, but to not have it as a full-on Warzone map still, when it seems like that's a lot of the design that was put into it, at least that's what it was for, is very bizarre. And obviously it depends on if you buy Black Ops 7, if you own the premium title. If you do, you're gonna have presumably both premium title, multiplayer, and Zombies installed and Warzone installed. That means you'd have the install file for Verdansk and Avalon on your download at the same time. They could have a big map rotation, but this wouldn't necessarily point towards that happening. It'd just be Verdansk or whatever else is next, right? Very bizarre situation here, relating directly to Verdansk nonetheless. So curious to see what happens with this over time. Obviously these details are something that's much further down the road than some of those official Verdansk updates, but regardless, as we continue to see new news and other various leaks and rumors surface in regards to any of this stuff, you guys know this is the place to be to stay up to date. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and if you enjoyed this video, a like rating on your way out would be seriously appreciated. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.